Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's bonus episode of the Literature with Lydia podcast. My name is Lydia, and I'm so excited to have you here today as I talk about something so incredibly important to me, People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. Now, the reason that this is a bonus episode is simply because I have other plans for episodes during January. But when deciding to do this episode, I knew that I wanted to do it around the release of the film, and I also knew that I wanted it to be a video episode. If you have been listening to the podcast for a while, then you know that I just started doing the video format during Bookmas this last year, and I had so much fun with it. I was able to meet a lot of new viewers, and a lot of my friends who listen to the podcast already were saying that they really enjoyed the video format. And so I knew that it was something that I wanted to keep up. I will say that I will not be doing it for every single episode, but I will be doing one episode a month. And then if I ever have bonus episodes, I may do those as well, which you can see here is what I am doing. And People We Meet on Vacation is a book very near and dear to my heart. And so I wanted to do an episode all about the book and also its new adaptation, which was released on the day that I am recording this. So let's get into People We Meet on Vacation. Now, like I said, it is by Emily Henry, who is one of my favorite authors of all time, if not my favorite author. And I read this book the first time. It was the first book I ever read on my Kindle. I read it in 2022. I read it in 2021. I read it while I was on the plane moving to Kuwait. And some of these things I'm about to share will probably sound like unnecessary details, but they're important to me. And I think it'll make the overall picture of why People We Meet on Vacation is such a big deal to me all very clear in a moment here. So in 2021, I moved to Kuwait to live and teach there, which I did for 4 years. I just moved back to the States last June. And this book is about Poppy, the main female character, and she travels. It's part of her job. And while I was living in Kuwait, travel was not my job, but travel is a huge part of the culture for teachers who live in Kuwait because it's a lot more accessible, and most schools in Kuwait end up paying for your living expenses, and so you have a lot more money coming in that you're able to invest in other areas, and so travel ends up being one of those. And because of Kuwait's location, it's a lot closer to a lot of places versus the United States only has so many things around it, and the United States itself is so big already as it is. So Kuwait provided a lot of travel opportunities for me, and travel is always something that I wanted to do. And when moving to Kuwait, that was one of the things I wanted to prioritize during my time there. So picture this. I'm moving to another country for the first time, and I'm reading this book all about this girl named Poppy who loves to travel. And I just felt that this character was me. It felt like Emily Henry had taken a magnifying glass to my brain, and so many of the things that Poppy thought and felt are things that I've thought and felt throughout my life. And so it was so special to me to be able to feel so represented in this book. Now, my love for People We Meet on Vacation has grown in abundance throughout the years. Not only is it a book that I reread every year, but it was also the book that kind of jump-started my reading life again. I always loved reading when I was younger, but as many readers do, they tend to fall off at a certain point, and this book is what reminded me that I loved reading so much. And so that also just has such a special part in my reading story. I mean, without that book, I would not have this podcast. I never would have started a Bookstagram. I never would have met so many of the people that I call friends now that I've met through the book community. So People We Meet on Vacation is so special to me. Now, when I was leaving Kuwait, I knew that I wanted to get a tattoo that encapsulated my time there, that was representative of the people that I came to love while I was there. And I felt that a quote from people we meet on vacation would kind of kill two birds with one stone. And the quote that I ended up getting is one that is from the behind the book part at the end of the book. And I have it right here. Probably kind of hard to see. I'll include a picture on the screen so that you can see it better. But it is in the handwriting of my best friend from Kuwait. But it says, "The ones who stay, who become home," which is, again, a quote from the behind the book part. But I'll read that section to you now. Okay. At the very end of the reader's guide, the behind the book, is a little bit of a section where Emily mentions how not all people might be able to go on these grand adventures that Poppy and Alex, our main characters, do. But she hopes that this book brings you to those places, whether you're there physically or just in spirit. And then it also brings you home and reminds you of all the beauty in the people that you call home. And it ends with these two sentences. It says, "Because really, it's less about the places we go than the people we meet along the way. But most of all, it's about the ones who stay, who become home." Now, I did an episode all about this quote in my experience in Kuwait, right before I moved. And you can find that. It's from June. I think it's called did I call it "The Ones Who Stay, Who Become Home"? I can't remember. That's not helpful. I'll put it on the screen as well. But I just think that is so representative of just my feelings about my time in Kuwait and me as a person in general. I don't know. I am so grateful for my time there, and I'm so grateful for a book that just sees me, and I'm so excited for this movie. Now, my main goal with today's episode, aside from just talking about how special this book is to me, is to talk about my hopes for the movie. And I will be doing a little wrap up my thoughts at the end once I watch the movie, but I wanted to talk about my hopes before I watch it. Primarily, it's that the characters remain true to the way they're depicted in the book. Poppy is so spunky and fun and kind of quirky in a way that you don't really see from your typical main female character, especially in a rom-com. I feel like female main characters tend to be a lot more timid, and I don't know, I feel like Poppy is so independent and out there, and I love that about her, and I hope that is captured in the film. Similarly, I hope that Alex's complete opposite is also represented in the film. He is so almost one note, kind of boring, which if you know, you know. I don't think that he's boring. I love him. He is my favorite main male character, my favorite book boyfriend. But I hope that their opposites are just very clearly portrayed within the movie. There are also plenty of quotes or little moments that I hope make their way into the film too, and I think that they will be. I have hopes. From what I've seen, it sounds like a lot of them are, and I'm just so excited. I'm so excited, and from what I've seen about what Emily Henry has said about the movie and the process of creating it, it sounds like they really honored the meaning behind the film or behind the book within the film, and so I'm very excited to see how that all turns out. My last thing before I jump to future Lydia, who's seen the movie, is that I want to show my different editions of the book here with you. Now, the first one that I ever read was, like I said, on my Kindle, so I will not show that here. But then we have just the original paperback, the way that it came out when it first was released. I also, when I was in Korea, got the Korean version, which is so cool. It is a lot different than the other copies, and while I will never be reading this with my own eyes, it is so cool to look at, and again, really special because of the tattoo that I got while I was in Korea. I also have the UK edition, which in the UK, it's called You and Me on Vacation instead of People We Meet on Vacation. A classic, a staple. If I'm going to have copies of People We Meet on Vacation, this one has to be in there. Naturally, when the movie adaptation cover came out, I had to get it. And we see it here. They're mimicking the original cover, which I love. And there are sprayed edges, which I have mixed feelings on, but I love these because it matches what the spine looks like. And I just think this one is so fun too. Finally, my treasured possession is the special edition of People We Meet on Vacation. And when you look underneath the dust jacket, there is the most stunning orange hardcover, and it says, "You're home to me," which is a quote from the book. The spine says written by Emily Henry in this really pretty cursive. And not only is it a special edition, it is signed. And when I heard that Emily was going to be signing special editions, I immediately purchased one. I believe I purchased it within 4 minutes of getting the email. But something that they mentioned was that Emily was just going to be writing your name. She wasn't going to be personalizing anything. And so I figured it would just say Lydia, and then it would have her name signed. But when I purchased it, I said my name, and then I said, also, by the way, Emily, this is my favorite book ever. Thank you for writing it. I got a tattoo that says "The ones who stay, who become home," because this book means everything to me. And when I got this in the mail, I saw that it said these words, and I'll put them on the screen for you to see. Lydia, the ones who stay do become home. XO, Emily Henry. So I'm sure you can understand just how special this book is to me. I've probably said the word special far too many times, but thank you for tuning in, and I'm going to hand it over to future Lydia. Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm so excited to talk with you about my thoughts on the People We Meet on Vacation movie. If you've not seen it yourself yet, this is probably not going to make a lot of sense. But if you have, then you understand, and I'm so happy that you can be here in this moment with all of this. Well, let's jump right into it. I have my Poppy outfit. Got the blue hair, the cowboy hat from New Orleans. I'm wearing this cute little friendship bracelet that my friend made for People We Meet on Vacation. It says, "You are home," or "You are my home." And naturally, I have my book with me because I need her by me at all times. I actually was hoping to finish my reread before I watched the movie, and that did not happen, but that's okay because I feel like it kind of let me go into the movie with more fresh eyes, and I'm so excited to share what I think about it. So let's jump in. Overall, I feel that the movie did such a good job of portraying the book. I really loved the visuals of it all, the color grading was beautiful, and I love that they kept true to the the past and present timelines of it all. I also felt that while there were changes from the book, they all made sense for who the characters are. They felt very realistic to what Poppy and Alex really would have done. And so that meant a lot to me because I feel like I go into movie adaptations with the idea that this is a separate work of art and it's not going to be exactly like the book, and that's okay because it's its own thing. And so I feel like I went into it very objectively in that sense, but I still felt that those changes that were made were true to the characters of Alex and Poppy, which was very important to me. as this is my favorite novel. I think the main gripe that I have, and take this with a grain of salt because probably not everyone is going to feel this way, but as a lover of the book and as somebody who feels such a deep connection to the characters themselves and the things that they're going through, I feel like if you were to watch the movie without having read the book, you're kind of going to lose a little bit of that depth. There is so much depth in this book and just in Emily Henry's writing in general. I feel that her books tend to lean more literary fiction with a subplot of romance. And so I feel like a little bit of that is lost in the movie, where if you don't know the heart behind what the characters are experiencing, when you watch the movie, it's just going to feel like a rom-com, which on the surface it is. And if you're looking for a good rom-com to watch, this would be a great one. But again, if you don't know the story behind the characters, you're kind of going to miss some of those deeper meanings, I guess. And so that's my only qualm. However, I still feel so happy overall. I rated it 5 stars on Letterboxd. Follow me, Lens with Lydia. Although I feel like I don't look at movies as critically as I do as books. I don't know why. I'm just there to be entertained, versus with books I'm thinking a little bit more deeply about them. But in this case, when I'm comparing it to my favorite book of all time, I still feel that they did it justice, and I'm really happy with it. So I would love to hear from you what you thought, not only about the movie, but about its adaptation from the book. If you're somebody that's only seen the movie, I'd be really curious to see what your thoughts were on it. But yeah, that's basically it. Thank you for listening to me ramble about People We Meet on Vacation for 20 minutes. I really appreciate it. I could talk about it forever and ever, and I will. So glad we cleared that up. But thank you for tuning in, and I'll catch you in next week's episode. Bye.